When COVID hit, we were in the middle of working with the country of Egypt in developing their export business. And typically, what we would do would be to identify the companies, analyze their resources, work with them on their products, work with them on their pricing strategy, work with them on their packaging, their design. Ultimately, we end up with a product that can sell in a targeted market. So we've done the research to determine what market it should sell in. Then we identify, or USAID identifies, a trade show, an event that they'd like to participate in. They fund us, and we'd go do that. What happened in 2020 when COVID hit, trade shows went on hold. Trade shows weren't happening. There are a few of them around the world that occurred as planned, but most of them did not. February 2020, I was in Dubai during the Gulf Food Show, and this was when COVID was first breaking out, and there was a huge delegation from China, and their booths were all over on one side, and nobody went to visit it. The Chinese were all walking around with their masks on. This was pre-publication, or pre everybody knowing about it, and all the shows locking down. But anyway, the show didn't lock down that year, but in future years it locked down. So what the project in Egypt said is, we went back to them and said, let's do a virtual trade show. The technology today allows us to set up a meeting, set up a hall, set up a website where the companies can each have a website that is their booth, and people can come in and visit the show, visit the website, go into their booth, watch their videos, look at their brochures, and actually have a one-on-one conversation with them, or a one-on-many conversation with them. So we set up these virtual trade shows. And our job, along with setting up the trade show and analyzing the companies and helping them get things done, was to identify people to try and get them to go. And to go into a trade show physically is very expensive. If I'm going to fly from here to Dubai, or from here to New York, or even from here to San Francisco, it's a lot of money and a lot of time. And you got the hotel, you got the flights, you got the meals, you got everything else associated with it. So trade shows are a very expensive venture. In fact, we call them a hope strategy. You hope that the customer comes by, you hope that they have time to stop, and you hope that you can get their business card. So it's a hope strategy, and we can talk about that, and we do talk about that in our trade show efforts. But what happens with the virtual trade show is a person sitting at their desk, whether it's in Paris or Dubai or Bangkok or Seattle or wherever, they can go on to the show at their convenience. So we'd have the show basically in two different time zones, one for the Middle East and Europe, and one for the Americas, a different time zone. So we'd have it twice during the same day. But they'd allow people to go in at their convenience to meet with the company specifically, go right to the company. At a trade show, some of these trade shows are huge. Gulf Foods, for example, and the Anuga shows and Cial shows are huge shows, and you get tired just walking around, and you're really in a hurry to try and get from one point to another. You can't see everything, and if you do see something, it's something typically that was set up in advance. What this allowed you to do with a virtual trade show is for the visitor who's sitting in his office, or his or her office, or they're in whatever city or country they're in, and they can go into the website and visit the show. They can go into the booth, they can talk to the people, they can talk one-on-one, they can begin the dialogue. Now, they can't touch samples, they can't taste product, but they can see a video of the film of the factory. They can see a video of the facilities. They can meet the people that they'd be dealing with. And at the end of the day, it's still people. They can download their certification. So if they have HACCP or Global Gap or ISO certification, they can take a look at those online and they can download those. So a virtual trade show, in my opinion, is more effective than an actual trade show. Now, our challenge was, how do we secure people to visit? How do we reach out to people? Now, with USAID, we weren't allowed to do website advertising. We weren't allowed to do social media. If we were, doing a social media campaign would have been ideal. We could have done a LinkedIn automation program that reached out to people that met certain profiles. We could have worked with our different databases and reached out to them. We could have done Instagram. We could have done Facebook. There's a lot of things we could have done. But with USAID, we were limited. We couldn't do the social media. So what we did is our team did what we call smile and dial. We picked up the phone, or we sat down at our keyboard and reached out to people and said, here are the companies that are going to be at this show. Here are the products that they're going to be selling. Are you interested? And we sent out mass mailings. We did that via MailChimp. And we were able to identify who was opening the emails and who was looking at certain pages. So we did a Microsoft Sway. It would allow us to put links inside the Sway so people could click on it and go to a specific page. So we could say what company went to what page and what companies they were interested in. We'd then follow that up with a phone call. We'd then follow that up with an email. Our team globally, we have people around the world that would reach out to the people in their local market and identify people, get them to come to the show, And again, we're sitting in Seattle or in Dubai or in Hong Kong or wherever we are, and we're able to track it. We're able to monitor it, and we can then follow up, and then we can pursue it. And at a trade show, you can't do that. At a trade show, you hope the person stops by. You hope they give you a business card because, again, that email address, that long-term contact. Now, a lot of people say that, oh, trade shows, they come back from a trade show, and we've seen reports where people come back and say, oh, I did $1 million worth of business at the trade show. And I scratch my head and say that's probably not happened. It may have happened if it was prearranged and pre-set up and you're just getting together to sign the final contract, but somebody doesn't stop by the booth and see your left-handed widget and say, that's exactly what I want. Where's my purchase order? I'm going to buy it from you. They're going to get it. They're going to get the information. They're going to go back to their office. They're going to pass it by their management or their customers to see what they're interested in. So it's still going to take time, even if you're physically at a trade show. Now, the trade show industry is a huge industry, and attacking that by saying, here's a virtual trade show that it can accomplish the same thing, you're kind of running up against a brick wall where the people that are involved don't want to do that. There's a lot of money that's made, not only in the cities where the trade shows are, but the people that are hosting the trade shows. It's a huge industry. And some of them have embraced the virtual trade show, and almost all of them now have a virtual show associated with their live show. Now, you can't get into it without paying a fee because they don't want you to just sit and freely get the access to the people at the show. But if you pay a fee, you get the access. You can go in and you can reach out to people and begin the dialogue that way. If you go to a trade show and haven't done your preparation work, then you're wasting money. So a virtual trade show makes it easier for the visitor and also makes it easier for the exhibitor. So it's easier for everybody. It's more cost efficient. And the technology is only improving to where we can do that more efficiently. And it's something to take a look at when you're trying to promote something. Even if it's just your company, you can do a virtual trade show with just your company. You reach out to people and say, we're going to put on this show. We're going to have these materials available for you. It's a good option, and it's something that needs to be explored further.